IELTS Listening, version 50207. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1 on page 2 of your question booklet. Section 1. You will hear a woman talking to an estate agent on the phone. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7 on page 2. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Pearson's Estate Agents, can I help you?
Yes, good morning. I'd like to register with your agency.
Oh, yes, OK. Did you want to rent a property or buy one?
Buy.
OK, right. I'll just get a registration form. Right. So, in which area are you hoping to find a property?
In the Huddersfield area.
The buyer is looking for property in the Huddersfield area, so Huddersfield has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Pearson's Estate Agents, can I help you?
Yes, good morning. I'd like to register with your agency.
Oh, yes, OK. Did you want to rent a property or buy one?
Buy.
OK, right. I'll just get a registration form. Right. So, in which area are you hoping to find a property?
In the Huddersfield area.
Fine. I'll just take some personal details, if I may. You are?
Mary King.
Fine. And can I have your present address, please?
It's 59 Franklin Avenue.
Is that spelt L-I-N at the end?
No, it's Franklyn.
Oh, right. OK. And the town?
Barnsley.
Right. And do you happen to know your postcode?
It's TY12 6OS.
Is that T for Tango?
Yes, it is.
Fine. Now, obviously, I'll put you on our mailing list for property details, but sometimes we might want to contact you quickly. So can you give me a phone number?
Yes, my number's 0194 88 536.
And is that daytime or evening, or both?
No, it's an office number, so from 8 in the morning to 3:30. Do you need an evening number as well?
No, not really. Thanks. OK, well, now I'll take some details about the kind of property you're looking for. Was it a house or a flat?
House.
OK. Any particular kind?
Yes, I don't really like modern houses very much. I'd like something traditional, really.
Yes, OK. And how big? 3 bedrooms? 4 bedrooms?
Yes, that sort of size. I wouldn't want anything with less than 3, I think.
Right, got that. Anything else as far as the property itself is concerned?
I'd really like to find somewhere with central heating. I know a lot of those cottages still just have fireplaces, but I don't really want that, and those electric heaters are very expensive to run.
You're right, they are. OK, I'll make a note of that. Anything else? What about outside? Do you need a garden, for example?
Well, that'd be nice, but it's not essential. But one thing I really must have is a garage. I know that a lot of older places don't have one of those either, but...
Well, that's true, but we'll do our best. I've made a note. Right. And what about the location?
If possible, I'd like something in a village, but not too far away from the town.
Right.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10 on page 3. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
Now, what about the price? What's your budget?
I could go up to £120,000, not more. But if I can get something suitable for less, I'd rather, of course.
And will you be applying for a loan from the bank to help cover the cost?
I've already done that, and the bank's approved it.
Oh, good. Could you just give me a few details? What's the name of your bank?
York.
Right. And which branch is that?
It's in Park Square. I used to live in that area, and then when I moved, I kept my account there.
That's excellent. You'll be able to go straight ahead then. That's a real advantage when you're bidding for property. Now, we've got a few things on the books already that you might be interested in. Shall I put the details in the post?
Well, actually, I can collect them myself. My office is quite near yours. That would probably be easier.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2 on page 4. Section 2. You will hear a woman called Maxine giving a talk about her horse riding center to a group of people interested in learning to ride. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17 on page 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 17.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Pennyfield Horse Riding Centre. My name's Maxine, and I'm really pleased that you're interested in having horse riding lessons with us. I'd like to tell you a little about our operation, what we have to offer, and where everything's located, so later you can find your way around. Now, we've been in business since 1979, and since then we've trained hundreds of children and adults to be confident horse riders. We're not the biggest riding centre in the area, but we do offer a very wide range of services to suit most people's needs. Because we have a large indoor arena, the centre is open in any weather. Our busiest time is the weekend, but we also run sessions every weekday afternoon. We offer lessons for all abilities, from absolute beginners to advanced riders, though prices vary and jumping lessons, for example, cost a little more than beginners' classes. We don't offer one-to-one lessons, but we have so many groups running every day that we're sure to find a level that's right for you. Now, if you do decide to take lessons here, you have to register first. To do this, you'll need to fill out a form which has questions about your contact details, your general health, and any previous riding experience you have. There's no need to show certificates or anything like that because we like to assess your ability ourselves. We'll just assign you provisionally to one of our groups until we get the chance to do that. For registration purposes, you also need to make a one-off payment to use our riding gear. This is refundable. We don't actually charge you. It's only to cover us in case anything gets lost or damaged. You can book lessons over the phone or in person. Though we can't make promises, we'll offer you a choice of horses to ride, and if you have a particular animal you like, we'll do our best to accommodate you. Regarding payment, we can't take credit cards, but we do accept checks with a bank card. If you have to cancel your booking, please do it at least a couple of days ahead of time, otherwise a 50% cancellation fee will apply. Also, you may want to consider booking lessons in blocks of 10, since it's cheaper. Now, many of you are first-time riders, and we know that you may be feeling a little nervous. Don't worry. All our teachers are specially trained to help you build your confidence. We suggest that you observe one lesson to see what's going on. There are plenty of other riders who feel the same as you. You'll soon start to relax. We're very happy for people to look on while you're having your lessons, but we do ask that you keep talking to a minimum. Spectators can take photos, of course, as long as there's no flash. And please, we ask riders not to carry cell phones, even in your pocket. We've had quite a few going off, and it frightens the horses. Now, you probably want to know what to wear. Most important is what you wear on your feet and legs, and we have a wide selection of boots for sale in our shop. It's well worth a visit. Younger riders especially love our range of stationery with the Pennyfield logo on it. Sadly, we no longer sell clothing like sweatshirts and coats, but don't worry, just wear any warm waterproof jacket. And then I do just want to tell you about a new group we're starting on Thursday evenings called the Equus Club. This is for riders who are visually impaired or who have another type of handicap. We offer high levels of care and aim to take riders through all the levels, right up to competition standard where appropriate.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 18 to 20 on page 5. Now listen and answer questions 18 to 20.
Now, before I finish, the riding center is pretty large, so I'll just explain where all the key areas are. Looking at this plan, you can see that we're standing here in the stable block. Just in front of us, over the way, you can see the shop. Between that and the storeroom is the cafe. Then, as we look to the left of the storeroom, next to the parking lot, there's the office where you make your bookings. Obviously, that's where you'll go to make arrangements for particular classes, to fill in forms, etc. Nobody can go on a ride without going in there first. And looking at the other side of the shop, to the right of it, is the place where you wait to ride. It runs alongside the whole length of the field. Finally, you'll need to know where the bathrooms are. As you go out of this stable block, they're on the left, next to the indoor arena. I hope that's clear.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3 on page 6. Section 3. You will hear a tutor talking to a student called Lena. Lena has written an essay about a company called Just Coffee, which works with coffee producers all over the world. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26 on page 6. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Right, Lena. On the whole, your essay on Just Coffee was well researched and made a much better impression on me than your last assignment. Several of you chose to write about Just Coffee, in fact, so I feel I've learned a lot about the company too.
Good. But I was a bit disappointed with the grade I was given. Where did I go wrong?
Well, it was an interesting choice of company and it gave you a lot to say, but you could have expressed it better in places. It sounded a bit informal at times.
Oh dear.
But I have to say, you obviously put more time into the planning stage this time.
Yes, I did. In my last essay, I didn't really think about how the essay should develop, which meant I ended up repeating a lot of details.
Well, you can see how helpful planning is now. However, a couple of other points also let you down. Although your profile covered the 5 main areas we asked you to research: operation, products, shareholders, objectives, and mission statement, you should have spent more time on layout, just making sure that it looks professional.
Sorry about that. I'm still not 100% confident with the graphics software.
Okay. It was also handed in after the deadline. That automatically means you're penalized. However, it was very satisfactory on the whole. Read my notes at the end, but I'd like to run through a few minor points with you too.
Fine.
So, Just Coffee. You cover the company's operation well, but I think you could have added more about how the company supports the communities where the coffee is produced. They focus on this a lot in their advertising.
You mean in practical terms?
Yes. I was thinking specifically of the fact that it offers producers up to 60% of the value of the coffee in advance of delivery.
Which makes it possible for them to cover startup equipment and employment costs in the field.
Precisely. And you mentioned that Just Coffee pays its growers more than the standard global rate, but you didn't quote any precise figures.
It's double, isn't it? I know it's very generous.
Triple, in fact. And apparently it pays a premium to growers who produce organic crops, too.
I didn't know that.
Well, it's too late to include that now, but you really ought to have done a bit more research on the impact of the company on its local growers.
I did mention how some coffee producers in Haiti are producing enough coffee to sell to other markets, too.
Yes, I remember that. But in Peru, the company suggested that farmers experiment with different kinds of coffee at different altitudes. That's an interesting development, and it would have been good to mention it.
I didn't know about that. Can you give me some information about it?
Yes, we've got a collection of articles on Just Coffee in a folder here, which I'll give you in a minute.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30 on page 7. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Now, talking of reference materials,
Yes?
I think Just Coffee is a very interesting company, so I'd like you to compile a reference document to add to the department's library file.
Oh, okay. What should it include?
Well, it would be useful to say something about their range of products. How many are there on the market at the moment?
8 in total.
Okay. A quick description of each one.
And what about a section on the local profit and how it's used to help the local community? I thought that was interesting.
It's a bit of a diversion, but why not? If I remember correctly, it's used to purchase computers, among other things.
Yes, that's right. It's great that the profit is plowed back like that. Lots of customers buy their products for that reason alone.
You're right. Okay, and say something about the most important advantage for producers who work with Just Coffee. Would you say that it's the trading partnership?
In all the literature, the term they use is knowledge sharing, so perhaps I should quote that. It's called that because the company doesn't only buy the coffee from the suppliers, it also gives them advice on market conditions and export strategies.
Good. I'll give this some more thought and draw up a brief for you to work with. There's no rush for this, so don't worry.
Okay, thanks.
That is the end of Section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 4 on page 8. Section 4. You will hear part of an environmental studies lecture about the possibility of using insects as a source of food. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40 on page 8. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the challenges of producing food for the global population. And there's been a lot of interest recently in new sources of food, and one of the most interesting is insects. Well, why should insects be considered as a food source? Well, for a start, a number of them are full of protein, and many also have certain vitamins, which may surprise you, more so than a typical farm animal, in fact. And compared to farm animals, whose waste products contain a great deal of ammonia, the waste products of insects are far less acidic and would therefore do very little damage to the soil or to any of the rivers that run through farmland. Furthermore, when it comes to the production of insects, the expense would be very low. No trees need be chopped down or forests turned to pasture, so the space that they would occupy would be radically smaller than for, say, cows or sheep. But even if some consumers decided that they'd rather not put insects in their shopping basket, we could also consider how insects might be added to animal feed, the food given to farm animals. It's already known that some insects, if they were part of the animal feed, would act as a sort of natural antibiotic within a cow or sheep's digestive system, thus removing the need for human intervention. This would be a cost-effective and environmentally friendly alternative for farmers. However, if consumers do decide that insects are a potential superfood, a way of feeding the world, then the next question is, where do we source them from? The wild, perhaps? Or should they be bred on insect farms? Well, if we take from the wild, one potential consequence of this is that too many will be taken, and in turn a species could become endangered or extinct. Then, for insects which are harvested from the wild, We have no way of knowing where they have been or what they have come in contact with, and this could have harmful consequences for human health. Imagine the scenario if food producers or retailers were supplied with insects that were carrying bacteria. This is not something we want to add to the food chain. If insects are bred on farms, the problems I've just outlined could be avoided. And in many countries, it's already the case that demand for insects is growing, really growing. And it's not in rural areas where you'd expect, but, in fact, in the cities. In Thailand, for example, where the demand has really shot up. However, people in countries where insects are traditionally what people eat, they'll tell you that when insects are intensively farmed, their taste is simply not the same. Ironically, this is the same accusation that people have when it comes to the way that cows and sheep are raised. Insect farmers also face a series of challenges, and researchers are keen to assist. First of all, when it comes to breeding, different insects have different requirements. For a start, it's essential to maintain a suitable temperature for many species to reproduce. If this isn't right, nothing's going to happen. Another problem is something that often happens when any species is bred in a confined space. And so far, researchers and farmers have not come up with any clear or long-term effective solution to it. We're talking about the problem of disease. You don't want a whole colony wiped out in one go. There's also the question of where insects need to be kept. If insects are to be bred as a superfood, then the tanks used to house them have to be better designed, and this has to happen so that cleaning takes up less time. If we're talking about mass production, we don't want this to be a time-consuming activity. And finally, like I said before, insects have long been part of the diet in some countries, but not so in others. If farmers want to encourage people in, say, England or France or Germany to eat insects, then they're going to have to develop a strategy, and I'm not talking about production, but marketing. Something that'll persuade potential customers to try something different. Well, I've given you a general overview of the situation. Now let's look at some specific examples.
That is the end of Section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. You now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the listening answer sheet.